Welcome back, and a thank you to our viewers tuning into another CSE Issuer Update. Today, I am talking virtually with Mr. Brayden Sutton, who is the CEO of the BC Corporation. Trades under the symbol BCBC, of course, on the CSE. I just realized it's going to be a year since you've been listed as a public company on the exchange. I think we sat down late September last year and introduce the company to our audience. So I hope the summer's been well for you.
Summer has been great. It's amazing how fast a year goes by now, but yeah, thank you.
I want to start this update off on a different note. Rather than jump right into and talk about the company and its progress over the last 12 months, why don't we talk a little bit about the Canadian regulated cannabis industry? Of course, we are a lot further than we were, a couple of years ago, but there are definitely still challenges that companies and participants face. So why don't we start with that? So give us a little bit of an update on where the industry is at and some of the challenges that you still come across.
Certainly. It'd be lying if I said there wasn't widespread challenges across the space. I mean, I'm here because I like a challenge. I love the space. I'm an optimist within it. I'd like to see it succeed, and I know that it will. We're at an interesting time. We're heading this October, actually, it'll be 4 years since regulated cannabis in Canada, since legalization. And I often remind people, this is a plant that was used for 7,000 years that we know of, illegal for about 70, and now legal for 4. So if you go back again to alcohol prohibition days, when they repealed the Volstead Act in 1933 and brought back legalized alcohol, it was about a decade before the alcohol business was functioning properly. So with that, I'm optimistic that 4 years in, with the challenges we have, it's not to be expected, but certainly not something that people should be very surprised by. I'm also noticing that a lot of the pioneers, guys I certainly respect, are long gone. Even just this last month, I think Rubicon, a great company I follow, I'm an owner of, lost Jesse McConnell, a huge loss to the industry. Daniel Petrov stepped down from Chiaro, one of the better retailers, both public companies. So it's a little sad, a little bit of an end of an era for me. A lot of the founding fathers and the pioneers of the space have checked out and tapped out and can't do it anymore. But I'd like to think it can only get easier, but there are definitely some unfair things going on with respect to taxation. Things like D&O insurance are egregious. I just got a quote for an audit that was just shy of $100,000. My first audit in this space was Supreme Cannabis. I think it was $16,000 for comparison's sake, just 4.5 years ago. So yeah, we've come a long way, but we've got a long way to go.
How do you see industry professionals jumping over these hurdles? What do you see as that's next in the industry that will help alleviate some of these challenges?
You know what, I think, I think it's kind of at the time now where the people here are here again because they want to make a mark, they want to create a legacy. In our case, we want to create a multi-generational brand, worldwide brand, and we're here for that reason. We're not here to pay the bills, and we're not here for fun. We're very much conscientiously here, trying to build a great cannabis brand. So, I'm encouraged that the sales figures continue to go up. For those of you that follow the cannabis sales numbers, it's a big industry. The black market continues to be very robust with very little enforcement from law enforcement in terms of shutting down sort of dial-a-dope and delivery and illegal stores. And there's a ton of medical grows, as we all know, everywhere throughout BC. So as long as those are going, and they're not having a fun time either, their price per pound is sub $500 from the glory days of $2,500 a pound. So while that is slowly, I think, being phased out, I think our space will get a little less rocky, but we're still, there's no template for this space, as I've always said. So things like banking, professional services, legal accounting, you got to love this space to be able to be in it. And I think my hat is off to anybody who still is.
So let's talk a little bit about the company, BC Corporation. Obviously, earlier as we started, I mentioned it's almost been 12 months since you've been a publicly listed company on the CSE. I see that you put out an update to your shareholders earlier this week as well. Now, I want to talk. So obviously, BC Corp is a consumer brand focused company. Why don't you give us a brief introduction or a recap to what the company's vision is for viewers that might not be familiar?
Totally. Yeah. So the BC Bud Co. is a house of brands. We're very, very intentionally not a manufacturer. We're not a grower, cultivator. We're not a retailer. We are a brand. We create products that are all contract manufactured. Those products go out to about 500 different stores. So we aim to be a trusted brand in the space that puts out products that people will see value in. We've often said products that will compel someone to get in their car, drive to a store and buy. I still see that missing from the space. There's still a lack of consistency. There's a lack of consumer loyalty for that reason, and for good reason. There's still total price discovery right across the value chain, whether it's bagged ounces or pre-rolls. Pricing is all over the map and still needs to get sorted out. So we're hopefully helping in that regard. We're putting out products that we think will be long-standing, valuable products. But again, our value and our promise to the space, we don't carry large overhead. We don't have a huge payroll. We don't have infrastructure. We don't have any of this toxic debt that has just destroyed the space. We have a very tight share structure. We have almost 70% ownership, management owned, founder led, one of the best boards in the business.
Let's talk a little bit about where BC Bud Co. is after 12 months when it comes to product development. What have you guys been up to?
Certainly, we've achieved a lot in 12 months. We are very much thriving in 5 provinces now with more to come. We're currently engaging one of the better sales agencies, probably the best sales agency in Canada in terms of to be able to grow and expand our footprint through Ontario and other provinces. Continuing to sort of stick to that 80-20 rule in terms of where the value is for shareholders. Again, eliminating redundancy, finding SKUs with velocity and SKUs that will have longevity and again, consumer demand. If you can't get that consumer facing ask on a bud tender level, it's, in my opinion, it's a temporary product. So we've done very, very well, little over 20 SKUs across many different segments of the industry, and continue to expand with lots more to come.
How is your team going about building brand awareness in this huge market?
Totally. Boots on the ground. I mean, pop-ups in stores, people don't realize the importance of just belly to belly, getting in the store, shaking hands, giving somebody a hat, asking the bud tenders what they like, what the feedback is from their customers. To us is very, very critically important. We're very engaged in social media. We talk to everybody. We ask a lot of questions. We very much, again, as people that have been in this space for a long time, I think our level of cognizance to what people want and don't want is very, very, very high and very important to us. So I think that cultural connection is our advantage. And then if you go into the capital market side of things, we have it there too, with the fact that we have 67+% insider ownership, tight structure, no debt. This is a company, again, that I can say is ran by professionals from the industry that also do understand the capital markets and know that while market caps are just decimated, it's always temporary. Everything's temporary. And that pendulum swings from irrational exuberance, multi-billion-dollar valuations to just crushed, tiny $1 million valuations that are not fair at all. So I'm confident that the industry will land somewhere in the middle, and we'll lose a lot of the companies, and we've already seen the change of guard.
Yeah.
But I'm confident that the players that are here next summer, I think will be here for the long term.
Well said. Now, let's talk a little bit about mergers and acquisitions. I know there's been a little bit of activity from your team on that front. Give us an update.
Yeah, so we've shortlisted a couple fantastic assets, kind of mom and pop shops, still private, untainted, if I may say, companies that never took on any equity, private equity or otherwise, or debt. We do, if I can say, I do believe that valuations are still getting crunched. There's a little bit of compression there. We're seeing a lot of stuff for sale. The amount of cultivation facilities in British Columbia that are for sale right now is staggering. The ones that aren't for sale are unofficially for sale, believe it or not. There's a phenomenal couple of processors that we really would like to sort of sink our teeth into when the time is right, and a few other assets in the space. So I think you guys will see something soon. We don't want to move too quick. We want it to be accretive. We want it to be a value add, and we want it to be a cultural fit and a complement to the space as a whole. So I hope that we'll see something very soon on that front.
Great summary. Now, actually, Brayden, I want to jump back to some of the brand awareness stuff because I want to talk a little bit about some of the brands that you've acquired and I shouldn't say acquired, but added to your portfolio. Talk to us about that. Some new products coming up to market as well.
Totally. Yeah, we've got a really exciting single source infused pre-roll coming, which is another first. We've done a lot. I myself have been involved in a lot of firsts in the industry, which I'm very proud of. So we will have that coming out with Cake and Caviar, phenomenal brand out of Chase Habitat. We have the canna beans and the canna almonds launching in Ontario this month. We've had incredible buildup of that. That's going to be a really valuable, almost like a microdose THC. I'm very proud of a 1% and a 2% offering for people that I wouldn't say want to try it or hesitant to, but there's a lot of people with very high sensitivity to THC that still very much get the value and the benefit from CBD and THC. So coming in at a little lower, maybe trying something 2, 3, 4 milligrams, seeing how it treats you. We have rosin products that have been unbelievably well received, live rosin products. We have live resin vape carts that are, in my opinion, the best in North America because of our partners and how we know how to do things. And our flower offerings, we've got staples like our 3-joint pre-roll tube, our 1 gram tubes, and we will very soon have a 28 gram, so a 1 ounce offering for those that like a little bigger bag, a little more smoke for their buck. It's a huge part of the space, a huge segment that's very much underrepresented. So we're very much in a premium category and intentionally again, but we will have a really good 28 gram offering very shortly as well. So we're really covering sort of all the check boxes of the space, I think, that matter with drinks to come. Drinks, we're not in a rush. And the reason for that, again, intentional, there's no consumption. There's nowhere where you can go and legally consume a cannabis beverage in Canada. So in my opinion, there's no rush. If you go to a store and ask them what % of sales are drinks, it's dismal. It's nothing. So once that sector turns on, we are absolutely ready to go with a couple of really cool drink offerings. And in the meantime, we'll keep expanding.
Now you've also, speaking of expanding, you've also had some team additions.
We have, yeah. We announced Emily Graham. We've got a rock solid CFO in this business. You need a superstar in the accounting department for a number of reasons. We just added Brian Taylor, who is currently the mayor of Grand Forks, second term mayor of Grand Forks. Brian actually founded the BC Marijuana Party in 1996 when you and I were probably in grade school. A true pioneer. He's got over 40 years, commercially in this space all over the world. Widely revered and loved man, brilliant businessman. He's a shareholder and he's now a director. And we'll continue to add names just like that.
Brayden, I appreciate your time as always, listening to your insight about the industry and of course, where the company has come in the last 12 months. I want to give the floor to you for the next couple of minutes here to address your shareholders with any messaging, not just your shareholders, but any potential shareholders that might be on the sidelines looking at the company. I want to give the floor to you to provide a message to not only your existing shareholders, but the industry as a whole.
Totally. I appreciate that. I'm a shareholder of this space. I believe in it. I will continue to be. This company is by far my biggest asset, my biggest initiative, my baby. I continue to buy the stock. I've bought quite a bit of stock, upwards of about a couple $100,000 since we went public about a year ago, well over $1 million of capital. Most people in this company have upwards of about $1 million personally invested in this company with no other interest in the space. So we are all in here. There's a phenomenal article in the Globe and Mail about 2 years ago that talked about junior companies and said, well, shocker, companies that have high insider ownership do very well over the long term. Companies that have very little ownership, and of course it seems obvious, but people don't look at that enough, I don't think. And again, we're a highly convicted company with a very tight structure and very high ownership from all of our management. That will continue. We will support the company. I'm amazed every day when people want to sort of unfairly pump and promote things. I cynically kind of say if somebody's really aggressively pumping a stock, it's usually because they're smarter than you and they're trying to get paper off. We are the opposite of that. We are not a moment. We are, again, a group of people that have made a real mark in this space through California and Nevada and Colorado, and we want to do that here in British Columbia, as we have done in Canada prior to. So, in it for the long term, always here for any questions. Again, I'm a shareholder along with everybody else. It's a tough time for a lot of people to get excited about the space, but I think, as Buffett and other people have shown us, that's kind of when opportunities arise, is when nobody else is on the bid. That often represents some opportunity, but more bleeding to come in the space, perhaps. But you can never time the bottom, you can never time the top. You can just make sound decisions over the long term and incrementally, choose your vessels and stick with them. So I'm certainly very happy to talk to anybody about it. I really value our shareholders. I talk to all of them at least every month. Get a lot of good feedback, and I'd like to think we're one of the more responsible cannabis companies, both from a product development side and from a capital market side as well.
So Brayden, again, I do appreciate you taking the time to not only update us, but your current shareholders and any potential investors about the company's progress, where the industry is at when it comes to the regulated cannabis market. Now, I want to end it off with, are there any milestones in the next 3 to 6 months that you're excited about and that investors can look out for from you and your team?
Certainly, yeah. I think, reaching capitulation in the space, hopefully soon, will be one. Us getting into the Maritimes for me is going to be a big catalyst. I'd love to go down to Los Angeles or Las Vegas and buy BC Bud Co branded products. So that's very much in my purview and something that I hope to be able to show soon. So certainly just more shelves, more growth, more areas, getting this brand in more areas than just Canada, for sure.
Excellent. Brayden, it's always a pleasure hosting you and talking about the cannabis industry. But I want to talk a little bit, I'm going to throw a little shameless plug on my end for you. I know you've published a book called Money Mind. Tell us a little bit about the book. It's about the capital markets and everything that happens within it. It's a great read for new investors who don't really know the landscape. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, thank you. That's unexpected and appreciated. Shameless plug. I do appreciate that. I've got almost 20 years. I've got about 19 years of capital markets experience as a retail trader. I was never in the business. I became a stock trader at 18 years old. I got my cannabis card at 2004. And then in 2008, I was following the very first pot stocks, and then in 2012 into Canada. So I talk a fair bit about cannabis plus capital markets. I talk a lot about the mind and the mindset required to be an investor / trader or trader, and the differences really between the two ultimately, how to get into it, how to not go crazy from it. And I use a lot of real life examples that I think people can understand, be it horse racing, poker, to help people break down the fact that, buying stocks is gambling, investing in stocks is different. And helping people understand the difference between the two, and using some real life examples of myself in some of these early cannabis companies and some of the lessons that I learned that were invaluable. I talk a lot about millions of dollars of loss and gains as well. So hopefully an entertaining read for anybody that's into speculating, essentially. So it's Money Mind Beyond Speculation. It's on Amazon. It's also on Audible. I just recorded an Audible for it myself. So you will find it on Audible as well.
You mentioned that it's also on Audible. I've read the book. I do want to say it is a very engaging read. It's well written, and it's well written for the layman who does not understand the capital markets and what actually happens behind the scenes. So again, on that note, Brayden, I want to leave this. I don't want to shamelessly keep plugging the book, but again, I do appreciate your time. I look forward to hosting you on again in the next few months to talk about your progress. And our team at the CSE wishes you and your team at the BC Bud Co nothing but success as you move forward, because as we all know, your success is our success. And to everybody watching, you've been listening to Mr. Brayden Sutton. He is the CEO of BC Bud Co, listed on the CSE and trades under the symbol BCBC. Brayden, thanks again, and you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Anil. Thank you very much. You guys are fantastic. Appreciate you. Take care.